see, my husband seems to think that I've engaged in paternity fraud, but I have absolutely no memory of such a thing. Is there evidence I was cheating? If so, please show it. Then my husband smirked. The evidence is right here. That child, who looks nothing like me, is proof. Also, when I arrived at the hospital, your face turned pale. You knew your scheme was exposed, so you turned pale, right? As expected, I sighed. You see, when you arrived at the hospital, I had just given birth after 17 hours of labor. I was exhausted and dizzy from the long labor and frequent contractions, so it's natural my complexion was bad. Huh? And look closely at the baby's face. You barely even looked at the baby's face right after birth, so you wouldn't know. Does it not look exactly like you? I held the baby, who had been lying in the crib, and I showed its face to my husband and the lawyer. Exactly alike. A baby with the exact same face as my husband. It's so identical, it's like a mini-clone. Huh? Huh? Why? Seeing a baby just like himself, my husband was confused. But the baby I saw at the hospital had a completely different face. Did you swap the baby? What's he going to say next? How could I switch babies? Where would I even find one with the same face? My husband is terribly confused. But, when I saw it at the hospital, the face was all red. All newborn babies are red. That's why they're called newborns. That's how all of them are. Well, and it was wrinkled. That's also the same for all of them. But at that time, the head and the face were much longer. It had a completely different face. That's what I'm saying. At that time, my labor wasn't progressing, so I had to have vacuum-assisted delivery. Didn't the obstetrician explain? They said the head was misshapen because of the vacuum, but it will gradually return to normal. Finally realizing his own misunderstanding, my husband slumped his shoulders in disappointment. Listening to my husband's story, it seems he had been influenced by single men on online forums during his long business trips, filling his mind with inappropriate thoughts. At their suggestion, he started reading certain forums and began to believe that women cheat or use surrogate eggs. And when he saw the baby that was born, there was a baby with a completely different face from mine. He thought it was a surrogate egg, so he says. I feel more disappointed that I was suspected of plotting with such a silly misunderstanding. My parents had angry faces, as if they were about to scold my husband, but since I asked them in advance to listen quietly, they remained silent. I figured as much. So what, can I assume that seeing the child's face clears me of these false accusations? If you continue to doubt, we can do a DNA test, or whatever you want. Well, it doesn't have to go that far. Oh, I see. Then let's discuss divorce again. I calmly proceeded with the matter. I'm not at fault for the divorce, so of course there won't be any compensation. But for the defamation and humiliation I've endured, due to your suspicions, I'll be seeking compensation. Huh? I'll be taking half of the assets, precisely. And regarding child support? Well, maybe divorce isn't really necessary anymore, since it's my child. Huh? After you've been suspecting and accusing me, now you're saying what? I'm really sorry about that point. I'm reflecting on it. I really am. At that moment, the lawyer interjected. Please, wait a moment. Huh? What is it, lawyer? No matter what you say, my intention for divorce won't change. No, that's not it. It's about the compensation claim from you to Carl. Huh? It seems it might be appropriate to add compensation for Carl's infidelity as well. What? What? I was surprised, but even more surprised was my husband. I wondered what the lawyer was suddenly suggesting. Actually, a friend introduced me, saying my subordinate is having trouble with infidelity, and mentioned Carl. After hearing the story, I indeed thought it was a divorce case and accepted the request. But the friend who introduced me to Carl said he's also cheating, so they're both at fault, in our conversation. I recommend investigating further. Huh? You're my lawyer, right? Why are you bringing up unfavorable things to me? When his own affair was exposed, my husband panicked. After being treated like this, I can't handle it anymore. I'll withdraw.
Termination of the contract. No, the contract is invalid, since you haven't transferred the initial fee yet. I was willing to be lenient on the delay in payment due to it being a friend's subordinate, but that's also why I lost trust in you. This can't be.
So basically, my husband thought it would be more convenient if I were also cheating, because then it would be easier for him to justify his own infidelity. So then, if my affair were seen as the cause, it would be grounds for divorce. So you pinned unthinkable schemes on me. My husband's face grew paler and paler, as if it hit the nail on the head.
While the client's own affair is morally reprehensible, I've kept silent to protect the client. But I didn't realize that not only was he hiding his own affair, but even his divorce's affair was a lie.
The lawyer was furious, his pride shattered. The fact that this attorney no longer has power of attorney with my husband means. I approached the lawyer to talk. Oh, then will you listen to my concerns this time? Actually, I'm considering divorce now. I want to take as much money as possible for my partner. When I said this with a mischievous smile, the lawyer laughed with a similar expression.
Ha ha ha. Since I haven't formally terminated the contract with the current client, I can't answer here. But please come to my law firm later. Let's talk then.
In other words, it's okay. I was satisfied. Suddenly, my husband got down on his knees.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. So please don't divorce me. I beg you.
Instead of responding to my husband, I addressed Mike. Is that so? What do you think, Mike? And I responded in Mike's tone of voice.
There's no way I can forgive them. Meow. This kind of person deserves a punishment. Meow. I'll scratch them and give them a cat punch until they're all scratched up and torn apart. Meow.
Eek.
When I pretended to brush off a branch, my husband panicked and ran off. After that, we got divorced. The lawyer not only secured a substantial settlement for property division, but also for adultery and defamation of my character. Of course, I have custody of our son, and we've settled child support. It seems my husband's affair was with a young woman from his long-term business trip, who apparently ended up quitting her job due to the rumors. Even though my husband's trip isn't over yet, everyone at his destination knows about the incident, so it's like walking on eggshells. Can you believe my husband even fell for that nonsense about paternity fraud on some forum? In the end, I was mocked by the single guy who planted the idea of cuckoldry in my husband's mind, saying, "Huh? Did you seriously believe that post on the bulletin board? Wow, that's unbelievable. I was just teasing a bit." I'm sure you're eager to return to headquarters as soon as possible, but unfortunately, even after the business trip ends, my husband's seat at headquarters will be vacant. I heard from my former colleague that once the current long-term business trip is over, my husband will be immediately assigned to another long-term trip. Furthermore, this time, it's to a remote countryside branch office, essentially being exiled. All I can think is, serves him right. After the divorce, I moved back to my parents' house for good. Now I'm busy with childcare every day with my mother's help. Once things settle down, I plan to look for a job. I'm determined to shower my son with double the love, filling in for his father. With Mike the cat also doting on my son, it feels like we have 2.5 caretakers in total, doesn't it? Well, sort of. When I glanced at Mike, he seemed to wink while washing his face with his front paws.